So this minister was sharing, and he's been in ministry a long time, and as the son was growing up, he's doing just like what I shared about what this man did, and the son's growing. But then, as he got, I guess, in his older teens and whatnot, he started going away from the Lord. He pulled away from God, and he got involved in homosexuality. And so he went to go live the homosexual lifestyle. And of course, the pastor's devastated. And then he finds out later that the next door neighbor had come over and had been abusing his son when he was young, when he was little. And he's going, oh man, that's how the devil got in, and that's how the enemy planted that in my son's heart. And trauma can do that. Some experiences, things happen that needs to get broken off of people. I've seen many people that have been abused, and they end up in situations that are a direct result of the abuse that they've had. And but anyway, that happened to this pastor, and after this son has grown, in his older teens and in his early 20s, and he moves on. It looks like that final thing has been done. That big decision. He's pulled away from God now. He's given over to that way of life now, right? But guess what? The pastor says, I am not giving up. My wife and I, we were not going to stop praying. We were not going to start declaring our son shall come back to God. We were not going to start commanding the demonic forces in the name of Jesus to let go of my son. We were not going to stop. And he said, we just continued believing after all those years. And he said, one day my son called me, and just he was like trembling over the phone. You could hear trembling in his voice. And he's like, Dad, something's happening. Something's happening. I know you've been praying. Don't stop praying. Just don't stop praying. Not explaining what's going on, but it was only just a little while after that he has an encounter with God, and this young man pulls out of homosexuality. And not only that, God delivered him from the homosexual spirit that had come into his life, that was driving him, that had a place in his soul. He ended up getting married. He's married now. He's got 2 children. He openly goes around and shares his testimony. I was living like this, but God delivered me. He is so free from that past. He's not even feeling the shame of it anymore. It's like, oh no, that was somebody else. I'm a different person now, but look at what God did. There's no shame in it. And what I also love is that there's no shame in that pastor. There's no shame in that pastor for what his son went through and the direction that his son went in. I mean, think about that. That's a blessing, you see. He's healed from whatever he might have been thinking. I mean, I just could have imagined what that guy could have been thinking. Oh my, our neighbor, why did we let our neighbor babysit? Why did we let our neighbor over? We knew something wasn't quite right with that. We didn't feel good about that. Why did we do that? Oh, it's our fault. You see, you might be able to say a lot of things like that, but you just can't live like that. Are y'all with me? So everything's been healed. The man kept believing God for his son. He had to go up over whatever mistakes have been made all throughout the process and get healing as he's walking through this too. He had to get healing for him as he's also praying for his son. But he rises up to a place of courage and says, God, I believe you. God, you've got the final word. God, I declare my son shall be saved. My son shall turn around. His life shall change, and we shall see the glory of God. And indeed, it did happen. And he was able to say, God absolutely did this in my son. And I'll tell you, wherever you are today, that word is to encourage you for your loved ones and your children that somehow have gone in the wrong direction.